anime, manga, video games. 3 different mediums that I love very much, mainly for being life-changing, aspiring, emotional, funny, and fucking weird as hell. What the fuck? They've changed my life in ways I would have never expected, and sorta shaped into the person I am now. But when and where did all this start? Well, it's almost all thanks to one graphic novel series, movie, and video game that I'll be talking about and focusing on: Scott Pilgrim! Scott Pilgrim is a graphic novel series about a dude named Scott Pilgrim, obviously, who is in his mid-20s and has started dating a 17-year-old high school girl. Wait, what? But he soon finds the perfect pixie dream girl and starts going out for her instead, basically cheating on his previous girlfriend. But he finds out that if he wants to continue dating her, he has to defeat her 7 evil exes. The series spans over 6 volumes, as it would later get adapted into a live-action movie called Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, being named after the 2nd volume, and getting a licensed tie-in game called Scott Pilgrim vs. the World: The Game. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World: The Game, what a mouthful, was released on August 10th, 2010 on the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 digital stores. It was developed and published by Ubisoft, mainly starting off with the Montreal division before moving over to the Chengdu division, who finished the rest of the game in only 5 months. Jesus Christ, that's short. I recommend checking out this video after watching this one if you want to know more about the behind the scenes of this game. Anyways, after release, the game received mostly positive reviews. It will later on get 2 DLCs released, both including new playable characters, but that would soon end on December 30th, 2014. The game was quietly delisted, with no announcement or message from Ubisoft, leaving people confused and speculated it was because of the Scott Pilgrim license expiring. And so, we had to wait for many years until December 10th, 2020.
Hold your breath.
1 minute.
Yeah!
It finally came back. After 6 years, the wait was over. Scott Pilgrim is back. Being named the Complete Edition, it would include the main game and its DLC at the same price as the original game, being released for PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, PC, and Google Stadia. Ew. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World: The Game, or okay, you already get the title of the game, let's just call it Scott Pilgrim: The Game, is a 2D side-scrolling beat-em-up, primarily inspired from games such as River City Ransom, the TMNT, and Simpsons arcade games. I mean, it literally is just River City Ransom, but with Scott Pilgrim painted over it. Look! The game has 7 different playable characters, which are Scott Pilgrim, Kim Pine, my love, Steven Stills, Ramona Flowers, aka the Pixie Dream Girl I mentioned before, and an unlockable character being Nega Scott that's unlocked after beating the game with the 4 previous playable characters. Knife Chow, which was released for the movie's physical and digital release. It also had an update that included drop-in co-op play. Wallace, with him literally being a direct copy of Steven Stills, and also my love. It included online play with the DLC, though from what I played it's very broken. Who the fuck is Ryan? You fight for Ramona's 7 evil exes, which are Matthew Patel, literally every team from the early to mid-2000s edgelord wannabe, Lucas Lee, Kiryu, Todd Ingram, Commander Gray without his glasses, Roxanne Richer, insert looks like Panty Anarchy joke here, the Kakinaki twins, Dragon of Dojima wannabes, and Gordon Goose is here too, man! The main story mode is divided into 7 different stages, where you fight through a bunch of enemies, which ends with you finding one of the evil exes, except for stage 6, where you fight Nega Scott instead. Wait, what? How? You can also find certain restaurants and shops where you buy food items to eat or store, which refills your health, gut points, and gives you stat upgrades. You find money either through defeating enemies or entering secret areas that have flying piggy banks or unique blocks that give you lots of money.
Let's go gambling!
Every enemy that you defeat gains you XP, which levels up your character, unlocking more moves and attacks for you to use while fighting baddies. Snotty Kim. You end the stage out by fighting against one of the X's, and after you defeat them, you are rewarded with a certain amount of money, and a cutscene showing Scott and Ramona expressing their love to each other, while Steven and Kim are just their mood. This is all the game offers throughout each stage, of course becoming more and more difficult and longer, but the theme of each stage changes depending on which of the X's you're fighting. Like for example, the second stage, which I just showed you, revolves around Lucas Lee and him being a huge movie star. So that was about getting through different movie sets. And the third level is about Ton and his band, the Clash of Demon Head, playing at Leo's Palace, which features the first swap boss against Envy and that one character I forgot the name of. Lynette Guy Scout. That level also features a parodic guitar hero as you slam a guitar by pressing a single button on Todd before the actual fight begins. Those levels I mentioned are directly based on what happens in the graphic novels rather than the movie, though the later game goes on into its own original direction, especially with the final boss. Holy shit! Which means that this game is more based on the novels rather than the movie it's tying in. It was because the movie was finished at the time, so they only had the novels to base it off. The look of the game is really unique as it has a 32-bit art style, making it feel like an old retro video game from the past, like River City Ransom. Every little thing in this game has so much detail and personality, like NPCs congratulating you while you're fighting enemies, or getting scared if you attack them, or just their neutral animation looks amazing. Jiggle physics. There are even references to Nintendo games like the Triforce symbol, the previously mentioned question mark blocks, and brown bricks. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the game makes you feel like you're Scott Pilgrim. Truly. It truly does. Everything I mentioned makes this game sound unique, but more heavy basing on its source material, which it does pretty well, but what makes it so iconic and stand on its own? That one thing that makes this game truly stand on its own and memorable is its iconic soundtrack. Composed by the American chiptune punk rock band Anamanaguchi, the unique style involves using hardware sounds from consoles such as the NES and Game Boy, while also using traditional band instruments. And holy cocky cock is it fucking beautiful to listen to. All these things I've mentioned describe an amazing licensed title that was ahead of its time in so many ways. Referencing old video games from the past, staying true to its source material, a satisfying combat combo heavy beat 'em up system, the fact that it looks so beautiful with its pixel art style, which you haven't seen much at the time. It feels like an indie game, which makes it much stranger to me whenever I see the Ubisoft logo while starting the game up, since it doesn't feel like a title they would develop and release, but would explain its delisting. With the Scott Pilgrim series turning 20 years old this year, I'm hoping more people get to experience this series like I did. Like with the new Netflix anime, I know many disliked it for being different and misleading, which I can understand, but personally I love it. It was different and surprising with its twist. but gave me a whole different experience that I didn't want, but needed. Going back to the game, it does a lot of things well for being a licensed tie-in game that had a very strict deadline. My problems with the game are that I think the whole RPG stat system ruins the whole game when starting it and it feels like padding. Generally, I feel that with a lot of 2D beat-em-ups with these sorts of elements, where the game starts up way too hard, even on the easiest setting, and ends up being way too easy by the end. But I do find enjoyment in unlocking and buying new moves. Just the whole stat system should have been better. And with its broken online play, from what I remember, would constantly get us stuck on one section of the level after defeating all the enemies, and we couldn't quit back to the map. We had to leave the session. With the complete edition, now it's become more difficult to access certain areas without getting attacked first. But even with all these issues, I still love this game very much. The graphics, the gameplay, the freaking music. It all captures what I love about Scott Pilgrim. I'd recommend playing this game, especially if you're a fan of the series or just like retro-inspired video games. And so, thank you, Scott Pilgrim, for changing my life and inspiring me to become a better person. Anyways, Mordecai the Rigby's is a better band than Sex for Bomb.
Your eyes staring into my eyes. Who am I, the guy with 2 eyes on the prize? And the prize in my eyes is 10 times the surprise in your eyes as I kiss you goodnight. Your smile is the fire that rocks my soul.